Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. My name is Hunter, and in today's weather forecast, we are going to be talking about a ring of fire pattern to evolve across the United States as we go into early next week. And leading up to that, we are going to be seeing a building heat wave across the central U.S. We'll get to everything that you need to know between this week, this weekend, and next week, and the tropical weather update at the end of the video. Very important topics here in the video today, so make sure to subscribe to the channel down below if you haven't already. Like the video by giving it a thumbs up if you like today's weather forecast. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. We'll get to those later on today. What you are currently looking at here is Tropical Storm Gaemi that actually made landfall in Taiwan yesterday as a typhoon and is now weakened because it has crossed over a major landmass, but this system continues to track westward into China and bringing some very torrential rains and some mudslides across some of these areas. And you can see this system is going to continue to move into China over the next 24 to 48 hours plus. So this is going to be bringing some very heavy torrential rains to China, some flash flooding over here over the next couple of days. But closer to home, the ridge of high pressure is definitely flexing its muscles here from Southern California and the desert Southwest all the way up here into the Rockies, into Colorado, into Wyoming, and also New Mexico. So we are definitely seeing a lot of heat out west, and so much so to where we have heat advisories across parts of the Dakotas here in the orange. In those purple shaded colors, excessive heat warnings and widespread red flag warnings here that stretch from the northwestern plains all the way back into the Pacific Northwest in anticipation of very hot weather, but also dry soil here. So a higher fire weather concerns over there. Flood watches we're watching from around portions of the Houston Metroplex and toward Lake Charles and across the eastern Carolinas and eastern Georgia, where we are experiencing some very heavy rainfall over the next 24 to 48 hours. So let's break it all down for you here. This afternoon, here are your high temperatures, record-breaking heat all the way up here into the Montana and North Dakota state line, up to near 110 in some areas here. And when you factor in the heat index, we could be seeing heat indexes all the way to 100 degrees Fahrenheit into southeastern Saskatchewan, southern Manitoba, Canada here, and much of Florida actually experiencing those 100 plus degree Fahrenheit heat index values this afternoon. Looking at that storm reports from yesterday, we did have some scattered severe weather about portions of the eastern Ohio Valley up into the northeast and mid-Atlantic. A couple severe weather reports with wind and hail over here into especially northeastern Oregon and southern Idaho yesterday with all that storm energy. More storms could turn severe as we go into this afternoon. There is a level 2 out of 5 slight risk of severe weather up into northeastern Montana here, with that marginal extending back into Idaho, Nevada, and Utah. Another marginal down here in southern portions of Arizona near Phoenix, and then a couple marginals over here into Maryland, northern Virginia, and the eastern Carolina. So a lot of different areas with severe weather, and all of them are mainly for wind. We could be seeing 60, maybe even 70 mile per hour wind gusts, especially up here in this yellow shaded color into Montana. The hail risk is very low and the tornado risk is very low, so much so that there actually is no highlighted areas for hail or tornadoes today. So looking here at the precipitation going into this afternoon, more of that summertime heat will be popping up these showers and storms across the southeast, much like we've been seeing for the last several days. More storms popping up here with that lift over portions of the Rockies this afternoon. As we go into the evening, maybe a microburst potential down here again into the Phoenix region and southern Arizona. More big storms from Montana back into Idaho, Utah, and Nevada. We'll be watching out for damaging winds here. And then more big storms with some flooding rains really from Houston all the way over here toward the Carolinas, southern Georgia, and Florida as we go into the evening. As we lose the daytime heating here, the atmosphere will stabilize after the sun sets. So as we go into early Friday morning, that will leave us high and dry across a lot of areas outside of the Houston area and maybe the eastern Carolinas. Most of the United States should be dry. Very heavy rainfall is anticipated across coastal Texas and southeast Texas into southwestern Louisiana and the eastern Carolinas. Over here in the Carolinas, could be seeing 1 to 2 inches of rain into the portions there of the coastal areas there. We're also going to be watching coastal and southeastern Texas into Louisiana. The Houston Metroplex could be seeing an additional 2 to 4 inches worth of rain today up into the Lake Charles area, around an inch or two of rain as well. And that's on top of what we've already seen. So there is a moderate risk for flash flooding here through your Friday morning commute, with a large slight risk extending up into places like Shreveport, Tyler, Texas, into Monroe, Jackson, Mississippi, and then a large slight risk covering all of the Carolinas and eastern Georgia through Friday as well. Going into Friday here, that ridge will start to weaken a little bit, but extend further east toward the Mississippi River. We got a nice trough up here into the southern, southwestern Canadian prairies like Alberta and Saskatchewan, western Manitoba. That'll significantly cool us down with a strong cold front on Friday. I mean, look at this. This is night and day. 100-degree heat up here into southern Saskatchewan and Manitoba today. We're into the 70s tomorrow afternoon, so a major difference with that cold front and trough as it comes in. But here's the heat building across the plains into the United States from the Dakotas all the way south to Texas, 90s and triple digits. Your heat indexes could be up into the triple digits, maybe 105 into places like Fargo or Bismarck as we go into your Friday afternoon. Pleasant conditions, though, across the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, up into the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, a lot of 70s and 80s for high temperatures and heat indexes as we go into your Friday. More isolated severe weather will be possible. Obviously, with the heat this time of year comes the threat for some wind and hail, maybe a very isolated brief tornado or landspout here across portions there of the plains, and then down back into the desert Southwest. Just kind of what we see during the summer here. So Friday afternoon, more isolated, scattered coverage across the southeast, again across the Rockies into the northern plains. That'll continue into Friday evening, but notice again, as we lose the daytime heating, the sun sets, the atmosphere stabilizes, and we lose the coverage and intensity of those storms into early Saturday morning. Here are your total rainfall amounts between now all the way through Saturday morning on July 27th. Heaviest rains again across coastal and southeastern Texas into southwestern Louisiana and the eastern Carolinas, where we could see multiple inches of rain. Very dry areas out west near the west coast, the Great Plains underneath the influence of that ridge of high pressure and all that heat out there. The Midwest, the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley up in the Northeast for the most part will be dry outside of Maine, where we could see maybe a couple showers over there toward Caribou or down into the Augusta region, but we'll keep an eye on that. Looking at the drought monitor that was released today from the Climate Prediction Center and area offices, we actually did see a bump up in some areas of extreme drought, unfortunately, with this outlook. Now, this doesn't take into account the rainfall we have seen over the past couple of days, because the data on this map actually ends on Tuesday. So we will see the rainfall we see into the Carolinas be reflected on next Thursday's drought monitor. And right now, no drought in Houston. And really, the reason is because we had Beryl producing very heavy rain, and we have very heavy rain now. So the drought conditions are not going to happen for Houston, at least anytime soon. We are seeing drought conditions expanding and intensifying in the Pacific Northwest. Extreme exceptional drought now developing in western Montana here. So as we go into the weekend, you have a ridge of high pressure in the east. You got a trough out west here. That's going to bring some relief from the heat across the Pacific Northwest. We got some heat building across the middle of the country. And really, it's up here in the upper Midwest, northern plains is where we have the temperature anomalies, 20 to 30 degrees above average. And that really extends up into southeastern Canada, Ontario, and Quebec as we go into the weekend. So your high temperatures on Saturday afternoon, we're back into the 90s and triple digits there in the Great Plains. Maybe some 90s even up into Manitoba and Ontario as we go into Saturday afternoon as well. And then as we go into Sunday to finish off the weekend, that heat just kind of festers around the Great Plains and still having more temperatures into the 90s and triple digits to end the weekend. Precipitation trends now for the weekend. On Saturday, more moisture coming up from the Gulf of Mexico into the deep south, so we could have some scattered showers and storms. Plenty of dry hours in between, though, but make sure you have an umbrella or a radar app handy in case those showers and storms move through. Then as we go into Sunday, that moisture will move northward into the Ohio Valley and into the Midwest. That could lead to more showers for places like Chicago, Indianapolis, and maybe Lexington, Kentucky, and the Music City down there in Nashville as we go into Sunday as we end the weekend. And rainfall amounts will be few and far between around the Mississippi River from the middle and lower Mississippi River Valley eastward toward the southeast. Could be seeing rainfall amounts averaging from a trace where barely any rain to maybe over an inch, depending on how many thunderstorms you see throughout the weekend. And then heading in finally to next week, Monday, July 29th through Friday, August 2nd, that ridge of high pressure will definitely be in full force across the southern U.S. The northwesterly flow over the top of that ridge on the crest up here into the northern plains and the upper Midwest will actually lead to some interesting weather as we go into the middle of next week, but not before our temperatures really start to warm up here as we go into the Great Plains and northern U.S. as we go into next week, 18 to 20 degrees above average. And we're talking late July and early August, so you know it's hot when you see above average temperatures at this time of year on these maps. And the northeastern and eastern quadrant of that ridge will be a forcing mechanism for the potential for severe producing thunderstorms and some very heavy rainfall here from the upper Midwest down east of the Mississippi River into the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and the southeast, and some of that moisture spreading up into the mid-Atlantic and the northeast. But underneath that ridge, forget about it. You can see a lot of dry and hot weather across the central, southern plains, and out west, pretty dry as well. We have to watch the jet stream orientation early to middle portion of next week, Monday, July 29th through Wednesday, July 31st to end the month. That northwesterly flow, very subtle shortwave troughs that will be evolving here in this flow. And so it's going to be difficult to depict exactly where these mesoscale convective systems will be, or what we call MCSs, but there is a potential for one Monday into Tuesday up here into the Midwest somewhere. Whether it's in Iowa, it's in Wisconsin, Illinois is very unknown right now, but we'll continue to monitor this. And then as we go into Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe some of those dropping back down here into the southeast and the Tennessee Valley. We'll keep an eye on that. The overall track and intensity of these mesoscale convective systems are unknown. It did lead me to keep this at a likely category between July 29th through August 2nd for severe weather potential. Somewhere in this vicinity will likely see severe weather. Not everybody will see this. I did not have, again, enough confidence to upgrade to a very likely category, but that may be coming into the weekend as we have more confidence moving closer to this event. So going into Monday, July 29th, the Colorado State University AI models are showing low end potential for severe weather, really broad brushed across the north central U.S., continuing into Tuesday, July 30th, Wednesday, July 31st, and then turning the page to Thursday, August 1st as well. Broad brushed areas for at least low end potential for severe weather. Very heavy rainfall is going to be another recipe over here in the areas along and east of the Mississippi River. Some areas could be seeing multiple inches of rain, especially up here in the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, down into the southeast. And this is good news. We need the rainfall in the southeast, but hopefully this doesn't drop all at once as we go into next week. Now, the tropical weather update here, the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida is not forecasting any tropical cyclones over the next 7 days, so that's the next week. And the reason for this is really because the Saharan dust coming off Africa, moving across the main development region and the tropical Atlantic here over into the Caribbean and northwestern portions of the Atlantic are very dry. A lot of dust moving over this area as we go into the end of the week. Tomorrow, a big plume of dust moving over Cuba, over Jamaica, and over here into Haiti and the Bahamas as we go into Sunday. Another plume of dust from the Saharan coming off of Africa there into the main development region to end the weekend on Sunday. That'll move across much of the main development region to end the month, Tuesday the 30th and probably Wednesday the 31st. So the tropical development over the next several days will not be happening because of that dry air. And looking here at the sea surface temperature anomalies across the tropical Atlantic, we are starting to warm up those water temperatures in the wake of Beryl. Beryl did move through and actually cool off those waters there in the western Gulf of Mexico, but it does have time to start to regenerate. We'll have to wait and see on that. Some of the main development region is cooler, especially the closer to Africa you get, but the Caribbean and also the western main development region closer to the Windward Islands, very warm right now. And the Climate Prediction Center, the experts over there showing, especially as we get in towards that first but also second week in August, there's at least a low chance, at least a 20% chance of tropical cyclone formation in the main development region, with waves coming off Africa and then trying to move toward the Caribbean or the Northwest Atlantic. And that's something we'll be tracking for you right here on this channel. So forecast breakdown for you today: heat wave building across the central U.S. Watch out for the heat out there. Make sure to stay hydrated. And if you venture outdoors, make sure to get frequent breaks in air conditioning. Ring of fire pattern to set up early next week could set up some severe producing thunderstorms that could produce mainly damaging winds, but also hail and tornadoes, and also some very heavy rainfall. So flash flooding will also be on the table there. The tropics to remain quiet through the 1st of August at least, but we'll be tracking it for you if anything pops up between now and then and throughout the rest of the hurricane season. So thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel down below if you haven't already. Like the video by giving it a thumbs up down below. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. We'll get to those later on today, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Thursday out there.